Welcome back to another episode of Bleav Georgia in the Bleav Georgia Tech podcast. We are your co-hosts. That is RJ Schaefer. I am Jackson Caldwell coming to you Saturday evening. The white and gold spring game is over, full steam ahead into the summer, and then towards the Florida State game. It was exciting today. Pretty good turnout. I just got back from it, actually, just wrapping up all the coverage and stuff. Go check out all spring game coverage. Go check out allyellowjackets.com. Before we dive into it and give our thoughts, RJ, how you doing, man?
Great, man. Like we talked about before the podcast, Georgia Tech won a football game.
Yep.
Whoa, won a football game today.
Technically, like you said, they also lost one. So I guess we'll just call it a draw. We'll have offsetting penalties in this one, and we'll just, we'll set the record 0-0 by the time the Seminoles and the Yellow Jackets kick things off in Dublin. But we're just going to give you our quick thoughts and instant reaction. We're going to come back. I'm going to go back and watch the game again, and then we'll give our deeper thoughts on it whenever we get back with you next week. I guess let's start with offense. Look, we both said yesterday, we were talking about how deep the receiver position was. Maybe it's deeper than we thought because Chris Elko led the team in receiving today. 4 catches, 136 yards, caught a Hail Mary at the end of the first half. And that was a bizarre play. And I want to talk about Zach Pyron in a minute, but that was an awesome throw. He rolled out to his left, put that ball up there. I kind of was wondering what happened in the back end on the coverage because he was kind of one-on-one almost, at least from my recollection. I'll have to go back and see it again to maybe see what happened. But just an awesome day for him. Bailey Stockton, him and Aaron Philo were teammates. You could definitely see some chemistry there. Like he had one awesome one-handed catch. Philo was under pressure. It looked like he was going to sail it a little bit over him, but Stockton made a heck of one-handed catch. He finished with 3 catches for 93 yards today. He was really awesome. Zion Taylor, a redshirt freshman. We didn't really talk about him as much, but I think you at least have to mention him a little bit. Now, I've liked him since he came out of Norcross. He also played at Parkview earlier in his high school career, but I was a big fan of him when they signed him. He looked good today. 3 catches, 71 yards, a touchdown. Anything of these guys or anything on offense you want to mention that I haven't gotten to yet?
Well, another guy receiving is Malik Rutherford, who actually looked
Yeah.
really good. And he was out there for a lot longer than I thought he was going to be.
Well, see, I was going to say it's kind of crazy because like Malik's one of the best players on the team, and that's kind of like how those guys overshadowed him today. Is I haven't even gotten to him yet. Like it's just he had that touchdown. He juked like a million people out of his shoes down there in the red zone. But yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah, and Chris Elko, I know we talked about this. I think Chris Elko is a walk-on, and he had some amazing catches today. Like especially that one in the Hail Mary.
Yeah, like I mean, he was legitimately like really good, and like again, we'll see how things shake out depth chart wise, later in the season. But like this is, I think, clearly their most talented position going into the season. We both mentioned that yesterday. Quarterbacks, Haynes King was fine for the little bit that he played. I wasn't really going to overreact to anything he did. He did have the one interception where I do think I wouldn't have thrown that ball. And he talked about that after the game. He's working on trying to cut the turnovers down, get the completion percentage up. He was good today. Otherwise, like I thought he was fine. Zach Pyron, I thought was probably the best quarterback today. He got the most snaps as well. Like put that in context as well. They wound up playing 6 quarterbacks. Aaron Philo got in, Graham Knowles got in. Both had good drives. Their first drives were kind of shaky, like you would expect from a true freshman playing in their first college experience. And then, the walk-ons, Brody Rhodes got in there. Ben Guthrie got in there. Brody Rhodes had some good runs. I mentioned it yesterday. I thought I remembered him having some good ones last year in last year's spring game. He had a couple of good ones today. I'm trying to not break my own rule by having some big hot takeaway and just like, because spring games, that they can just be weird. I'm all on the Jamal Haynes hype train. Like I was already there, but like he looked really good today and just really impressive. Super quick in his cuts. He mentioned on the broadcast, I Bleav he said that he was dropping weight to get faster. We didn't. I obviously don't have the broadcast feed being in there in person, so that's why I want to go back and watch it. But he looked super super quick out there today. Like I'm excited to see what he can do. I think our question about the number 2 running back is still open. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, there wasn't really anybody who came out. Well, one person who I did mention before is Chad Alexander, who went out there and he looked really fast today. But the one thing that you said I think is really notable is when Jamal Haynes came on the broadcast and he said he's trying to drop a ton of weight and he said he's going to be faster. They asked him how much faster he's going to be. He's like, you're not going to expect the difference.
Yeah.
And he did look quite fast. But this is another room, kind of like the receiving room, where it's so deep. Like, there were a ton of guys today who averaged more than 4 yards a carry.
Yeah. I mean, Trey Cooley, 5 carries, 23 yards. Jamie Felix got a couple carries in there. Chad Alexander, 5 for 30. Anthony Carey, 6 for 16. Like, that's just going to be something to monitor going into the fall. Like, as much of a fan of Jamal Haynes as I am, like, you can't give him the ball 35 times. Like, you're going to have to find a compliment to him. And that might carry into the season. Like, it's not going to be, okay, we get to Florida State and it's solved. You know, it might be something that it takes a few games to figure out. You know, you got Georgia State and VMI there in the August, September early season schedule. So you'll have some games to possibly figure it out. Offensive line I thought was good. You know, the ones and the twos both look pretty good. It's tight end. You know, we talked mainly about Jackson Hawes yesterday, but Rylan Goday, I think he caught 3 passes for 25 yards today. Again, the tight ends weren't really a featured part of the offense like at all. In fact, I don't think Hawes even had a catch today. I think Goday was really the only tight end to catch a ball today. So we'll see how that battle shakes out. You know, you've just got guys, and I think that you just got to find the roles that they can do and have them in there. I don't think you have a superstar at tight end, and you don't really need one when you get this kind of receiver talent.
Well, and one thing that was said during the broadcast when they talked to Key is, you know, you might have something new at receiver because Key talked about, you know, Hawes might be able to be a lot more than just a traditional tight end. Like, you can put him out. That was one thing I was hoping to see more of, but unfortunately we didn't see. I really want to see more of Jackson Hawes.
Yep, and again, we mentioned this yesterday. Is you're not going to get all the cards in a spring game. Like you were going to get. Key didn't mention it like he did last year, but I don't think they played a lot of coverage. They didn't really blitz a whole lot. And again, you're not going to use a ton of formations that you want to use for later on. Like you want to give as little information as possible and little wrinkles you got in there. So offensively, again, the receivers looked extremely deep. We still got questions, and not like bad question marks after Jamal Haynes. Just like we just don't know. Like there was nobody that really separated today, and I still feel really good about the quarterback position. Like it's deep, it's good. Offensive line looks good as well. So I guess let's go to defense. You know, again, you don't want to overreact to one performance, but I thought there were some good things from the number one defense. I think the guy I really wanted to single out was Warren Burrell, the corner, transferred in from Tennessee. He had an interception in the end zone. Also had a pass breakup. I thought he was really solid today. Case Adams, he was the one that intercepted the tip pass from Haynes King. Tay Seymour, redshirt freshman, he tipped the pass, and that was a really good heads up play. I also thought the linebackers were good. Eford, Jackson Hamilton, Lightsey, Tajay Butler. He had 4 tackles a day. I'm telling you, he's going to be a factor in the fall. I really think that. Again, I'm not saying he's going to start, but I think he's going to be a factor. And we talked about it yesterday. Like, I don't know how you judge a pass rush or anything in a spring game. Like Kevin Harris did, he got a sack. You know, he got to the quarterback, and you're not supposed to tackle the quarterback in a spring game. So that's just still my biggest question mark with the defense. And we weren't going to get an answer today anyway. Like there was just no way you were going to. We'll see maybe if they try to add some transfer portal help there. But what were your thoughts on the defense?
I like that point about the transfer portal. One thing a lot of people don't notice is the transfer portal is about to reopen again soon.
Next week.
But one guy on defense that I thought looked good was Trinelius Tatum. Like, he had that pass breakup early, and he was a lot more active in coverage than I thought he was going to be. But the thing is, you're not really going to see a ton from your defense.
Defenses are bad for spring game. Like, that's just a given. Like, it's true for anybody out there. Like, it's just not. It's not the kind of environment where you're going to see like big time defenses just shut everything down because they're limited in what they can do. You're obviously not going to take down the quarterback. You're not going to really send a lot of blitzes or anything like that. But I did think like I think you can best judge maybe the secondary, just
Yeah.
because like there's a lot more pressure on them to try to make plays because you're not going to get a lot of pressure on the quarterback and you're not supposed to take him down, so they're going to have more time to throw. And that's why I wanted to single out Burrell. There, I thought Clayton Powell looked pretty good. I still think we were just not going to know about the defense until they're thrown into the fire against one of the best play callers in the country in Mike Norvell, Florida State. So we'll see early on how good they are. But we can't get out of here without talking about special teams. The one thing me and you wanted to see is put the field goal team in certain positions. I didn't have a 62-yard field goal on my bingo card today. Aiden Bird nailed that thing. I didn't think it was going to get there originally, just from my press box view. He killed it. And the punt team was originally coming on, and then Bird came on and nailed that one. He did miss he missed another crazy one.
59 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he had Gavin Stewart miss a 41-yarder, but man, the two guys I might just be the most excited about coming out of this. One of them is weirdly enough Aiden Bird. Like he was really good to end the season last year, and like maybe it's just a one-time thing, but a 62-yard field goal, you can't sneeze at that. I don't care if it's a spring game or not.
Yeah, and I know you said it kind of looked short, but that kick would have been that kick would have been good from like 65, 66.
I was about to say, you had at least
he buried that
yards, yeah. So
but also kickoffs look good because we talked about Gavin Stewart before the game, and
he's really good at kicking off.
Yeah, there's not much you can say about kickoffs, but
put it in the end zone.
He got that deep into the end zone.
Put it in the end zone. Don't allow kickoff returns for touchdowns are like not super common. You can cut them to a 0 if you put the ball in the end zone. Like that's the best way to cut it out. And he looked good doing that.
Yeah, but most notably Aiden Burr, probably like the most notable guy out of the spring game today, because you don't see that a lot in college ever.
Yeah, like if you'd have told me yesterday we'd been talking about Chris Elko and Aiden Burr the most, and it's again nothing against those guys. It's just they just played so well. It's like that's who you lead off with, and I just didn't expect that. Like they look good today. Any other thoughts? Like I said, we're going to come back to this and talk a lot more about it. But this is just kind of the off the top of our heads instant thoughts. You got anything else?
Yeah, I guess I'll have something more analytical, deeper today. But Aiden Burr was by far the best part to come out of that game.
Yeah, it was 62 yards in any setting is insane because he wasn't rushed or anything really, but like 62 yards is 62 yards.
Like, well, you look at destroying, who's now in the UFL. He could bury those in practice. It's different regardless of situation, because that was a game. That was a quote unquote game situation. So there's a lot more pressure that you go under, and he buried that.
Yeah, it wasn't like he just stopped everything, said, all right, screw it. We're going to go for a 62-yard field goal. Like I said, he had the punt unit on there, and then he's like, all right, I trust my kicker. And he talked about this in the press conference after the game. Like, I'd send him out there today, if it was the first game. Like, he trusts that kid a lot, and it paid off. Like I said, we will be back next week to kind of do a little bit of a deeper dive and kind of go position by position and kind of give our post-spring thoughts like, okay, where does this need to go? What positions maybe we're worried about or stuff like that. Just your typical post-spring practice stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube, we would appreciate a like in the video, subscribe to the channel. If you listen on podcast form, leave us a review, 1-star, 5-star. We just want to hear how we're doing and what you guys think and how we can improve the show. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast as well. We love doing this for you guys. And next up is Florida State. The next time we're talking about an actual football game, like we're 4 months away, August 24th. So full speed ahead. RJ, you got any other thoughts?
Just, nothing other than, this is like the final practice of spring. So I think we actually looked a lot better in spring than I thought we were going to be, because there was no true, besides the interception, like big errors in this game. Like nothing looked bad.
Yeah. You had the one turnover from Haynes where he probably shouldn't have thrown the ball, but I think, he tried to. That was the only one like Pyron. He didn't really make any errant throws. Graham Knowles, his very first throw, I do think was almost intercepted, but there wasn't many passes where you were like, "Oh, what are you doing? Like, where's that going?" So yeah, I do think that was good to point out. There wasn't just, and there was no like incredible busts in coverage either. Like there wasn't Eric Singleton wasn't running that because there was a couple times they did try to take a deep shot to him. You could tell off the play action, but he was covered. There wasn't any bust in coverage, so that was good to see. We'll be back next week. Like I said, give us a like on YouTube, subscribe, like us on podcast, subscribe, and we will see you next week. Thank you for listening.